the jinn of Nusaybin came to him and announced their faith. وَبَعْدَ وَاحِدٍ مَعَ الْخَمْسِينَ أَشْهُرٍ مَضَتْ لَهُ يَقِينًا. The Prophet ﷺ, when he went to Ta'if to ask for the help, and you saw Addas, the wonderful spot there, on his way back, some jinn heard the Quran recite, إِنَّا سَمِعْنَا قُرْآنًا عَجَبًا يَهْدِي إِلَى الرُّشْدِ فَآمَنَّا بِهِ. There was a group of jinn who heard the Quran recited, and they were amazed by it, and they became Muslim. Now the jinn are basically creatures that live here with us. They occupied the earth before we did, and every culture has a tradition of the unseen creatures, sprites, leprechauns, whatever you want to call. Every culture has some concept. Poltergeist in the German tradition. If you go into Africa, there's a lot of... So all of these different cultures have an understanding that there are creatures living aside. Now there's a lot of mythology that goes with them. There's a lot of fantasy and stories. We know that in imaginative literature, Tolkien and these are all expressions of that. It's something in us that's aware that something's going on alongside all of this. We just don't know quite what it is. But that's why there's an appeal to that. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. All that. That's all about jinn. But people don't really understand it because it's a world we don't have access to. Now, the people that have the most access to it are desert people. Because desert people experience. The jinn tend to live in areas that are uninhabited. So in Mauritania, 1,001 jinn tales of people that have had real experiences with the jinn. And so the desert people are very aware of it. That's why to the Arabs, none of this was strange at all. Modern people tend to be very wary of all these things, although we have a lot of very weird things that happen that are... people don't know how to explain them, just fall under that kind of supernatural category. But there's a lot of obsession with this stuff, with ghosts and things like that in the West. So that is that group. Now they, according to our tradition, they do have the ability to change their form. So the Prophet ﷺ also indicated that sometime they enter into forms in animals. So you will see. There's one of the people here who's here. It's one of my favorite stories about her father was in a apartment, and he woke up and there was a big boa constrictor. This is in a city in the U.S. There was a big boa constrictor in his room. And can you imagine that? I would have passed out. But he said, by the Lord of Sulaiman, if you're a jinn, leave. I just thought that was so amazing, the presence of mind to be able to say something like that. But it turns out like these snakes can go into the sewage and come into people's houses through the toilets. So something to keep you up at night. But that is what the Prophet ﷺ said for the people of Medina if they came into their homes and found a big snake, to ask them to leave. If they didn't and they pose any threat, then you can kill them. But it's just a respect of that whole world that we are commanded to believe in. You have to believe in the jinn. So it's part of our aqidah that we believe, because the Quran clearly states. And jinn comes from a word, janna, yajinnu, which is to be hidden or concealed. They're the concealed creatures. They have free will. They're like us. They have believers and disbelievers. And they have problems within themselves. They marry, they procreate, all these. So they heard and they believed in the message. Now,